Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. This week we are getting started with basic animations in Adobe Animate. I hope that by now you feel comfortable with classic motion tween and also using the guide tool. That capability in Animate is very powerful and will allow you to really boost the interesting things that you can animate on the stage. Today we are going to explore basic animations. And I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here. Before we get started, we're going to move around a little bit on the stage and learn how to add interesting elements to the stage. Maybe change some colors and also learn about some tools. As I make these tutorials, I will be telling you about shortcuts, and I suggest that you write those down somewhere in a cheat sheet so you can start getting used to them, used to using them while you're creating your own animations. That way you can become more efficient. One of the first things I want to talk about today is how to center your stage, how to use this rotation tool, and then what this clip content outside the stage means. So as always, I went to Animate, New, File, New, and I selected my usual web and low resolution. I don't really need it to be high res right now, we're just practicing. Okay, and I created this stage here. All right, our stage is blank, and one of the things you can do on the stage is, let's say that you zoom in and you want to center the stage again. Well, that's what this center stage tool is. It gets you back to the center. Say, for example, if I moved here, it will get it back to the center. And maybe I had 50% and I had kind of moved off to the left, then it would center it for me. Also, if you rotate the stage for any reason, like maybe it's a free fall type of animation and you want to rotate as the viewer is seeing something fly down, then you could rotate the stage. But maybe you change your mind and you want to reset it, so you can go back and reset the stage by clicking this tool here. This is kind of a personal preference. Maybe it bugs you to see things outside of the stage. So this particular option clips content outside the stage. So if you turn it on and you draw some kind of circle, it won't show it to you. But if you turn it back on, it'll show you the circle. All right, so it clips the content and it shows you exactly the way that video is going to look when you render it. All right, cool. So that is the introduction of these three buttons. So try and get used to using them, get comfortable with them. All right, so the first thing we're going to do for this project is we are learning how to animate three basic movements. We already learned classic tween and motion tween, and also how to animate on using a path guide. Today we will add shape tween and also frame by frame. So this is not supposed to be programming here. This is a mistake on my part. So this should not be here. But anyways, we are creating a path using motion tween, and I'll tell you all about that here when we start. Just going to get rid of that for next time. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is set up our stage. So let's go ahead and set up a nice background color. On the stage color palette here, you can click the color, and maybe the colors that you want aren't here. Maybe there's just, nothing that you particularly care for. So you can click on this color picker here and get pretty precise colors. So I'm going to choose, let's see, I want kind of a green, like so. A little, pleasant, light feeling. And then we want to set up, we're going to call this background, by the way, background. And let's go ahead and lock it. Okay, this particular icon here, if you click on it, it will lock it. If you click on the eyeball, it will hide it. But because this is the stage, it's not going to hide the stage. The stage will always be visible. But just for this particular exercise, we are going to call this background, okay? Because it's the default layer. All right, now I'd like you to go ahead and add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more layers, okay? And this particular layer here will be the horizon. And we're going to do some cool things with that. So let's go ahead and work on creating an interesting horizon. So to do that, I'm going to introduce you to the gradient tool. So when you click on this color palette here, you'll see that you have a few options. You have solid color, linear gradient, radial gradient, and bitmap fill. For now, we are focusing on linear and radial. So let's just play around with this a little bit. If we have this shape, and by the way, what I did to get here was go ahead and take a look at this tool. If I hit R, it changes it to rectangle. If I hit the O key, it changes it to circle. So those are your shortcuts, R and O. All right, so let's make a circle. And our fill right now can be any of these colors, right? So, but in order to do that, we'd have to draw it once the color is picked, but we can also just fill it. And for this particular exercise, I am not using a stroke at this moment, okay? So I have no stroke there, but I can go to the color picker and say I want let's do a radial for this one. So this radial selection allows you to select a gradient that emanates from the center. So now if we draw a circle, you'll see that the color that we have is white in the center and purple here. Now you can add more colors. You can click here and say you want a green. So you can double click on that and add a green. And then your colors would be different. And let's say I want to convert this red to what I already have selected. Well, I can just fill it. Using the radial option is very interesting as well. I'm sorry, the linear option as well, because then it becomes a line. So the gradient separation happens across a line. So let's change this to a rectangle, not a text. Okay, and now we have this interesting gradient that is made up of these colors. You can add colors to this spectrum here, and you can delete them. For example, if you want to delete this color, you just drag it down and it goes away. If you want to add another color, all you have to do is click in the center here and then just move around to try and find the color that you like best. And I'll just choose this green here. Or maybe this orange. Yeah, I like that. So then you can draw something and it has this really nice orange in the center that then becomes transparent. You might be wondering, why is this transparent here? Well, what's interesting about this is that I can click on the color and I can specify the alpha channel for any of these colors, and that just means the transparency. So in this left up on the upper color or the leftmost color, I have a transparency of 0, and you're going to see why in just a bit. All right, so this is just a way you can have fun with colors by using gradients. And now I'm actually going to make this a little darker because let's see, I just wanted to blend a little better with the color I chose. All right, so now we have this rectangle here. And remember, for the free form, the shortcut for free form transform is Q. So go ahead and hit the Q key. And when you do that, then your shape is selected. And then we can kind of just see the best way we can get it to fit on the stage, okay? Now, this is nice, this is pretty, but I think I want it to go the other way. So I want the gradient to be horizontal instead. So the way we change that is by going here to this menu and selecting Gradient Transform Tool. When we do that, we have this anchor on the corner here that it rotates the gradient like so. And you can tell by this line at the top whether it's level. Then just kind of page down a little bit here, because here is the handle which allows us to make it more condense the color in the center. And now we have this interesting horizon here. And maybe I want to go back here to my color and make it so it's not so transparent, maybe just more like this, so it looks like there's a horizon. All right. Now let's center our stage back, and here we have a nice horizon. And move this up a little bit and come back here and see if I can have some more of that purple. Nice. Okay. What we're working on today is bouncing objects on across the stage and kind of seeing how can we add some interest to how can we add some interest to the shapes that we see. And I want to add a little bit more purple to this. There we go. I like that a lot better. Okay. So in order to do that, I've divided this lesson into a few different parts. The first section is creating a ball that is bouncing using classic motion tween. And the next one is motion tween. And the third one is a shape tween. And the fourth one will be a frame by frame animation. So the first one we're working on is a classic tween. So let's look at our outline here. One of the things to keep in mind about classic tween animation is that it's very rigid. So it does exactly what you tell it to do, and it doesn't have any acceleration or deceleration. If you remember from our 12 fundamentals, there are certain things we have to keep in mind about how objects accelerate and how to express more through the animation, and especially when we're talking about the speed of the animation. So keep that in mind as we're working through these examples. So our first example will be classic tween. Remember, it is rigid. And the thing I want you to remember about classic tween is that we insert a keyframe. Classic tween, keyframe. And you'll see why I'm saying this in just a bit. All right, we have our horizon. And let's go ahead and lock it. Okay. Layer 1, I want you to call Classic Tween. And as you can see in this very first keyframe, the very first frame, we have a keyframe. How do we know it's a keyframe? Because it has a circle in it, and that's the default. Every time you create a new layer, you will see a keyframe there. So let's select the O key and go ahead and draw a ball. Okay, let's do this here. I am going to select just a regular color here. Let's see, maybe okay, sorry about that. I need to select it and choose another fill here. Let's choose like a pink. Okay, so now we have our ball. And in order to have an animation that's about 3 seconds long, we have to take into consideration the frame rate, which is 24. So in order to have 3 seconds, we need to be at 72. So go over here to 72, if you can kind of find it and eyeball it here, and you'll want to add a keyframe. Okay, when that happens, it populates all of those frames between frame 1 and the keyframe you just entered, and that just keeps repeating. That means that this keyframe, you have the horizon, you'll continue to have the horizon all the way through. Now here, on the Classic Tween layer, you also want to add a keyframe. Now, what has happened is that it has replicated the ball all the way through here in the same position, and it has ended on this last keyframe. So go ahead and hover your mouse and click anywhere here in the center, and you will create a classic tween. Okay. Now let's see. Sorry, let me go back a bit because I think I skipped a step. My apologies. You want to select this keyframe, move the ball down. My apologies. Move the ball down to where we're going to bounce the ball. Okay. And now create your classic tween. Okay. That will move the ball down. Okay. Well, but that looks very mechanical, right? It's not very interesting. So what we'll do is we want to actually bounce the ball. So at around this juncture here, I want the ball to have bounced once already. Okay. So what we're going to do is here, insert a keyframe. So right click, insert keyframe, and bring the ball down to that same level. And now move over a little bit, insert a keyframe, and bring it up here. It kind of snaps for you. So there's like a magnet in place that kind of allows you to snap back in place, and that little circle tells you there. Now click another keyframe. Let's see what it looks like so far. Okay, so as we can see, we should probably have a few more bounces here, okay? So the ball is coming down here, and let's have it bounce. Yeah, let's have it bounce here. Insert keyframe. So I'll have it bounce back here. Let's look at that. And a few more times. Okay, so here we'll move the ball back up, maybe to this level. And here it should come back down. And then one more little bounce here where we can kind of bounce it just a little bit off the ground. All right, so let's see what that looks like. Okay, so we're telling Animate which keyframes we want the ball to move and actually physically moving it to that location. So you want to imagine when a ball bounces, it goes bounce, then a little bit lower, then a little bit lower, then a little bit lower, and then finally settles on the ground. So think about what is the natural way that a ball bounces. Now, look at this animation. It's very rigid. It's very mechanical. It's not really the way that a ball bounces, but it's important to go through this exercise to kind of build upon your skills so far. So in the next tutorial, in the next lesson, we are adding motion tween. And I will see you there.